Welcome back, YouTubers. Bushweek's back. Today we've got a new movie review, so let's not dilly-daddle, let's get stuck into it. What if the full moon didn't just light up the night, but turn your neighbours into monsters? Werewolves delivers blood-pumping horror, military mayhem, and signs gone wrong in a world gripped by lunar terror. But is it worth your time, or just another How at the Moon? Join me now, guys, and we'll break this bad boy down. Now, Werewolves is directed by Steve C. Miller and stars Frank Grillo. Now, we all remember Frank Grillo from, Crossbones in the Marvel Universe. There you are, you son. As well as in the Purge franchise, as well as his Rick Flag Sr. from the DC Universe as well. So that's pretty cool that he's in the DC and the MCU. Now, for me, Werewolves, right, I feel was a bit of a high-octane horror, thriller, action, but when I actually watched it, it really reminded me a lot of an old school movie that was made in 2002 called Dog Soldiers. If you guys have never heard of Dog Soldiers, go check that out. Now back to it, guys. Now the story pretty much unfolds on the eve of another lunar supermoon for them. Now they've had this lunar event before, last year, where pretty much if you were outside and this supermoon actually touched you with its light, you were instantly transformed into a werewolf and were not really the nicest to your neighbours or anyone around you. Now, the cool fact I liked about Werewolf straight off the bat was they actually explained the supermoon. Because, most movies these days, they jump straight into just, all right, this is the movie and this is how it's going to roll. Whereas Werewolves actually started at it started where the story should. And it told us and explained the supermoon and what was happening. And it was a year later, and now they're trying to work out a way to stop everyone from changing from the supermoon with this stuff they call Moonscreen. I guess sort of like sunscreen, you spray it on and you might not get affected by it. But just in case that bad boy doesn't work, they're going around and setting up their neighborhood, setting up their houses, barricades, and then they know that as soon as the sun goes down, they've got to get inside and not get touched by the moonlight. But, of course, there are some people that obviously don't mind changing into werewolves and having a bit of fun or running amok during the lunar supermoon. Alrighty, guys, here's a little bit more of the story for you. We got Wesley Marshall here, played by Frank Grillo. A soldier turned scientist to protect his family, his sister-in-law Lucy and her daughter Emma, whilst the world around him braces for another nightmare moonrise. But because Wesley is actually a scientist, he debates whether or not going back and actually helping the other scientists to return to the lab to work on the Moonscreen serum that might stop people from transforming or might not. But he's in a bit of a pickle because he doesn't know whether or not he should leave his family that he's trying to protect and try and actually save the world. And when I got into it, guys, and watched it, and seen like how everyone was setting up for it, and I don't know what would be worse, either not knowing it's coming or knowing what's about to happen, the lunar supermoon, where there is going to be a lot of people that are going to want to turn to werewolves and run amok, and all you can do is realistically prepare your house and hope for the best. Just quickly, guys, just like to jump in there and say thank you to all my old subs for liking and watching my videos. We've reached over 840 subs now, and we're on our way up. And anyone new that's watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any ideas that you want me to make videos of, drop them down in the comments. Or anything you want to chat about, drop it down in the comments. Now let's get back to this video. And it's pretty intense to think that, like at the start, because I've seen them all running around in hazmat suits and blocking themselves off from the air around, anything that was happening. I thought, oh, it might be an airborne virus from it. But realistically, knowing that's just from seeing the moon or a lunar supermoon that can immediately change you, that would realistically change everything. Like, I don't know what I would honestly do if it'd be like, all right, we'll board up the house and be by ourselves, or would you rather, go out and find some others, safety in numbers, get a place, lock it down, and everyone protect everyone in there. But it seemed in this movie there was a lot of, solidarity. Everyone wanted to work by themselves and didn't really want to help other people out. Now, I even got to honestly admit, for a very low budget film, the CGI was actually pretty good. And even though they caught flack for it, I like the fact that they actually used proper werewolf suits. Like, they went out of, that's what I mean. Like, the first time I seen those werewolves, I straight away thought of Dog Soldiers. Probably a little bit of Underworld, but mainly Dog Soldiers. And, they copped a little bit of flack for using suits. Oh, it wasn't, up to date with, everyone else's thoughts of what CGI or what they should have done with the movie. But I like that little bit of old school horror where you get to see two werewolves in suits fighting. That's pretty epic to see. Alrighty, guys. In my opinion on this bad boy, Steve C. Miller brings a relentless pace to this film. His direction definitely leans heavily into 28 Days Later and with a bit of Dog Soldiers, possibly a little bit of Underworld thrown in there as well. The werewolf designs are incredible. Their visceral and physical practical effects meet CGI in a way that's actually scary and crosses that little bit of new school with old school, which I love. And I even like the way that Frank Grillo portrays his character in this one. with emotional grit, he's not just fighting monsters, he's fighting guilt, fear, and desperation. And my overall thoughts on this one, originally, I was like a bit skeptical because of how quick everyone was pumping out movies, and I really love my werewolf movies, so I'm a bit touchy on that subject, especially when it comes down to how much CGI they use or if they use suits. And the cross between the CGI and the suits in this one was done very well, I feel. Even though they copped a lot of flack for using suits, but I didn't care. Honestly, if you loved, Dog Soldiers, The Purge, and The Crazies, this is definitely a movie that you're going to want to check out. Like, one of my favorite scenes in this movie would happen to be the lab breakout scene. Normally when you watch a werewolf transformation, Van Helsing, Underworld, it seems pretty quick and they don't really show how much pain it is to obviously transform. Where in this movie, before one of the subjects actually transformed, she was begging not to transform because apparently how much it actually hurts. So that was a bit intense to see. And then the first scene that you get to see of if it's an airborne or if it's actually the moon. And that happens to be in that scene where one of the lead scientists accidentally busts his mask and gets exposed to the moon and transforms. And it was pretty agonizing to see. He transformed in a pretty horrible way. But then, as usual, once everyone's transformed, things progress into pretty much everything going bad from there. Werewolves escaping, and yeah, wasn't really that fun, I guess, to be in that area at the time. But yeah, you got to see a little bit of the Moonscreen stuff that they were talking about, and they use it a fair bit in the movie, but realistically, it only lasts an hour before it wears off. So, not too sure if you'd really want to use that as much. And then another good scene was when Frank Grillo and another scientist escape from where the werewolves are, and they're trying to get to Frank Grillo's family. And in doing so, going through the city, they stumble across some, random guys with a minigun mounted on the back of a truck and just having fun and plowing through the werewolves. And that was pretty cool to see, but that's when you actually get to see sort of how much solidarity there is in this Lunar event that they're having. Like, as soon as Frank Grillo's character approached these people trying to ask for help, these people were actually just going to kill him. They didn't believe who he was. He wasn't wearing anything to cover him up, and that really freaked them out. They thought he was going to turn at any stage. But, as usual, good little twists and turns in the movies. Everything sorts itself out in the end, that one. And honestly, probably the one thing I really didn't like in this movie was, the end. At the end, they had Frank Grillo pretty much fight with another alpha wolf, and it didn't really seem necessary because I'll give a little bit of a spoiler. It ends up that Frank Grillo sacrifices himself to be able to save his family, goes out, gets transformed into a werewolf, and fights this other alpha wolf for the safety of his family. And he was lucky enough that obviously the sun was coming up very soon and he changed back because his sister-in-law almost put a 12 gauge into his head. But I didn't really necessarily feel that the movie needed a werewolf and werewolf fight that happened, because just before that, it sort of ended pretty good. Like, Frank Grillo eventually got back to the house and they started defending it. And yeah, then they just did this major little flick where they were like, all right, time for some werewolf on werewolf. And yeah, I didn't really think it was necessary. But honestly, guys, I would definitely give this movie probably a 7 out of 5. Go check it out, especially, if you've liked Dog Soldiers, The Purge, The Crazies, or if you just like Frank Grillo, go check this bad boy out. Here we are, everyone. Now, what did you honestly think about Werewolves if you did get to see it? Do you think it was like a full moon flop, or do you think it was actually a good Werewolves movie? I, for one, actually think it was. And as well, just like to thank all my old subscribers for liking and watching my videos. We're almost there, guys, and I love you all. And anyone new that's watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any ideas that you'd like me to make a video for, drop it down in the comments. Or anything you'd like to chat about at all in the comments, drop it down there. As well, guys, as usual, I'll catch you on the next one.